everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. Fun winter polar bear scene. So lots of fun stuff in this one, lots of fun texture. It's really fun to add the moonlight to the water and all of that, and drawing the polar bear is very simple. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so that is linked in the description below if you'd like to check that out. But before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just save the file to your iPad and then double tap it or click on it and click Open in Procreate, and it will automatically import the color palette into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. Other than that, there are no custom brushes or anything. They're all standard Procreate brushes. So I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen here and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we'll get started. Okay, so this is the color palette that we will be working with today. Let's just go ahead and get started. We are going to set our background color first. It's going to be this really dark purple color, so that's why we have our light interface turned on here so that we can see everything a little bit better. On the video, at least, you don't need to change your interface to the light one. You can leave it dark if yours is dark, but this will just help the video see better what is going on. So on our layer menu, let's just click on this background color layer to select our color and set it to the first color on the first row of the color palette. Then we will just be on layer 1. We will grab our second color on the top row, and we're going to make our water now on this layer. So with our selection tool set to rectangle with color fill turned on, I'm going to start on the bottom left outside of my canvas and drag across and cover like maybe about 2/3 or so, a little over halfway, somewhere in there. So this will be our sky. We'll have our moon and stars is also nothing too crazy up there. We want a good amount of water. Okay, then click the selection tool to turn that off. We're going to blur the top edge just a little bit. So to do that, we'll grab our wand icon, click Gaussian blur, and drag this up just a little bit to maybe like 5 to 10%, somewhere in there. Maybe I'll go about 8. Okay, and now within our water, we're going to add some just streaks through it to make it look more water-like. And then when we go to add like our moon reflection and our iceberg reflections and stuff, they will look really nice and textured. So on our layer menu on this layer 1 with our water, click on it and turn on alpha lock so we're only drawing within this layer. Grab our third color on the top row of the color palette, and we are going to use the turpentine brush under the painting category for this. Our brush opacity is set to 100, our size maybe at 20. And I'm just going to go through and work horizontally, pretty lightly to get some good streaks through it. And then you can get kind of like thicker in some areas, but just want to add some good texture. Nothing too crazy. Nice and horizontal. Okay, now we're going to add our icebergs. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. And we are going to switch to the first color on the second row of the color palette now. So we'll leave these last 3 colors on the top row are for our moon and stars. We'll do that a little bit later. But next up, our second row of colors now. So first one on the second row, let's switch to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. Opacity at 100 and size, let's just do like 50. And let's draw our main iceberg here that our polar bear is going to sit on. So I'm going to start off the right edge, maybe a little bit ways down from the top of my water so that we have room up there. So maybe like 1/3 of the way down from my water, right off the right edge. And we're just going to start in, kind of make some wavy kind of lines, come to like a point and then come back in, kind of wavy again, going off. Something kind of like that, pretty rough. We want a little bit of room underneath, like on the bottom side of it for the lip of the iceberg and then the reflection of that. But this is like a good starting point, I would say. I might kind of smooth some of it out a little bit. And then start filling that in. Okay, I'm going to smooth it out a little further, but it can be kind of rough on some of the edges. Just maybe don't want it quite so rough. Okay, maybe something like that. Feel free to like resize it a little if you need to. We just need room for our polar bear to stand on it as well, so he'll kind of stand like right here. So I make this just a little thicker right there. So something kind of like this for our first one. Okay, and on the same layer, we'll just draw our other little iceberg pieces. So now let's move to the left side of the screen here, and I will draw one starting like just a little ways from the top of my waterline. There won't be anything like standing on this one, so it can just be a smaller chunk. So I'll start right here. Maybe we'll go like down, kind of come to a point, make another weird little loopy like that. Fill that in. Smooth it out if you need to, but I'm going to leave mine kind of rough a little bit. And then we'll do one more pretty small one in the back. So on the right side here again, right where like the top of the water is, I might even start a little higher than the water. I'll make another just kind of smallish one and fill that in. Okay, now we can make the lips of our iceberg. So on our layer menu, this layer, we'll slide to the left and make a duplicate of it. Grab the bottom one, click on it and turn on Alpha Lock, and we're going to recolor it to a slightly darker color. So grab the second color on the second row of the color palette, back to our layer menu, click on this layer and click Fill Layer. So it turned darker. You can't see it on your canvas because it's behind these lighter ones, but on your layer menu you should see it turn a darker color. Click on it again and turn off Alpha Lock now. Grab it with your arrow tool, and we're going to move it straight down a little bit so that we get a lip on our icebergs. Okay, so I want a pretty big one, so I dragged it down quite a bit. The only thing is I think this back one needs to be a little bit shorter because it's so far away. So these two are fine, but I'm going to, with my selection tool, turn off color fill, use freehand, and I'm just going to select around this back one here, grab it with my arrow tool and move it up a little bit, just a little bit further than my other one is. Okay, once that looks good, let's go ahead and do some connecting. So with our pen on monoline still and our same darker color, we're going to connect all of these. So let's start with our big one. On this left side here, I'm just going to connect where this point is in kind of like a straight line to make it look 3D. Same thing here where this little like poke out is, if you have anything like that. Okay, then my next one, same thing, the edge and the little pokey outy piece maybe a little bit. And then my back one, probably just the edge. My pokey outy piece doesn't go quite far enough to matter there, but it should look something like this when you're done. Now we can make the reflection. So on our layer menu, let's make another duplicate now of this bottom darker layer that we were just on. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab the bottom one. Let's first click the N to drop the opacity quite a bit. So open up that menu there and then drag it down to 30%. Grab it with your arrow tool and let's drag it straight down to make a good reflection like so. If you need to move this one up a little bit, go ahead and do so. If you have like a gap or something, or if it just looks too weird, I might again select around it, arrow tool, move it up just a little bit there, like so. Okay, then we just need to blur the reflection a little bit as well. So wand icon, we'll do motion blur and slide right on our screen a little bit to like 10 to 15%, somewhere in there to get a little bit of blur on it. And then that is the main pieces of our icebergs done. So now we can go ahead and add all of the texture to them. So we'll add some texture to the, and like variation to the tops and some texture and variation to the sides. So on our layer menu, let's do our tops first. So go back to our top layer with our lighter pieces on them. Click on this layer and turn on Alpha Lock. Let's grab this third color on the second row of our color palette. We are going to just create a little bit of a lighter edge all the way around with this. So with our pen, let's set that to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. The opacity of my brush is at 100, and let's set our size to like 10. And I'm just going to go around the edges a little bit to add just a little bit of a lighter color there. You can go in a little ways too, just to add some good variation. So it's not a huge variation, but just a little bit to kind of get a little difference going. And then we'll make it a little brighter in a moment as well. So do that for all three on the same layer here. Okay. Now we'll add some texture. So on our layer menu, add a new layer right above this one. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. So we're still drawing just within these shapes here. Click the N and set our layer style now. We'll change it to overlay. Okay, grab our next color in line, fourth one on the second row, and switch back to our turpentine brush under the painting category. Same size and everything. And we are, again, just going to work kind of horizontally and get some kind of streaks through the top of our ice here, just to give it some good texture. Okay, nothing too crazy. If yours gets a little too crazy, you can lower the opacity of this layer, but I think that looks good. Okay, we'll go to our layer menu, add another new layer, click on it and set it to a clipping mask, and click the N, and this time we're going to set it to add. Using our same color, we're going to switch our brush back to our soft brush, and we're again just going to kind of highlight the edge a little bit more. So soft brush, same color, fourth one on the second row, same opacity at 100, and our brush size maybe we'll drop to like 5. And we will just kind of hit the very edges of it pretty lightly. We're probably going to lower the opacity of this here in a moment, but we just kind of want to hit the edges a little bit to kind of brighten those up even further than we did before. Okay, so something kind of like that. Let's go ahead and lower the opacity maybe just a little bit. So on our layer menu, click the A to open up our options here, and let's drag the opacity down to maybe like 60 to 70%. Should be good. Okay, so then that's it for the tops of our icebergs. So now we will go to the sides here. Okay, so same thing, kind of we'll add some clipping masks and stuff. So on our next layer down, our main darker layer here, right under our big chunks, let's click on that layer and turn on alpha lock. That's our edge layer. So we used the second color as our base color. We'll use this darker color now, this fifth color on the second row, to add some shadows to them. So grab that same soft brush at 5%, and we'll just add some kind of variation of shadows in here. So some here, mainly focusing on like these chunks here where it like goes inwards. I'll add a shadow there for sure. Kind of here, it kind of curves back inwards too. So anywhere where it curves inwards, add a shadow, and then you can add a few others as well, just for some more variation. But our tips are going to be lighter. So the tip here, and like this kind of part that curves out will be lighter. So mainly focus on the darker areas there. So something kind of like that to start. Then we'll grab a lighter color, the third one on the second row, to do the tips. So same layer, same brush. Let's just kind of add in some of this for variation where we want it. So something like that. And now we'll add some streaks again with our texture brush. So on our layer menu, add a new layer above this one. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Click the N and set it to overlay. Okay, let's go back to our fourth color on the second row. And we'll switch to our turpentine brush again under the painting category. Same size and everything, and we'll just work vertically this time. So some nice vertical streaks throughout our iceberg edges here to add some texture like so. Awesome. And then that is it for our icebergs. So let's go ahead and draw our polar bear now. So he is next up, our polar bear, and then we'll just finish off the sky and the water. So we'll draw our polar bear first so that we know where we need to draw our moon, and then the reflections in the water and stuff will come from the moon. And then we'll add a layer of snow at the end as well. So let's go to our layer menu. Let's add a new layer at the very, very top of our layer menu. Let's grab our first polar bear color, the first one on the third row, and our monoline brush again under the calligraphy tab, still at 30%. And we're just going to kind of simply draw a nice little polar bear here, nothing too crazy. So maybe right here, like a little bit above my water or so, I'll draw its head. So I'll start with like kind of a circular shape. I'll just hold that down, something like this. He's going to be looking upwards. So I maybe even draw like an ellipse that's kind of like angled like this, just slightly, but mostly circular. Okay, from here towards like this top left corner, I'm going to draw its snout. So I'll just kind of round up and then round back in, something like this. So again, he's looking up like this. His nose will be like here, his eyes here, his ears back here in a second. Okay. From this point now in the like bottom left of the circle, we're going to just curve down into like a straight up and down line. So about straight like this, land somewhere on our iceberg here. And then we will draw the front paw. So kind of come out and curve back in. Right under that, we'll come out and curve back in. And we can move him if we need to, but that's his second front paw there. Okay, from that, we'll go back a little bit at like a straight horizontal line, and then we'll curve up like so. Okay, so that's his front paw. From here, we'll just go down on this line a little bit, so a little bit up from where the bottom of it is, and we'll draw like where the belly is. So I'm just going to draw kind of like another horizontal line there. Okay, then the back foot is going to come like from here, curve down, a little bit lower than this horizontal line we just drew, and then we'll draw the front paw. So again, just a curved line that goes flat. And then at the back of it, we're going to round into our bear. So I'm going to round at the back, and then we're going to connect with this head here. So we're just going to kind of round down from the head, round down like the back, and then into this like kind of butt area, I guess. Okay, let's fill that all in and see how it looks. So start filling in sections. We'll add the ears here in a second still. Let's fill all that in. So it looks pretty good so far. His back needs to be a bit bigger on mine. So like I'll kind of let it go higher. Still round into like that butt by the back leg. Fill that in. Okay, I might even make it a little rounder still. A little bigger. Maybe something like this. Okay, and then we need the ears still. That'll really help us sell it. So right on the back of the head here. So again, he's looking like up here. So his ears will be kind of like on this like right side. So I'll draw one curved line. Fill that in. And then maybe another curved line kind of right next to it. Fill that in. So he's kind of looking up. Okay, so make any adjustments to yours if you need to. I'm for sure going to like move him a little bit, but smooth things out, adjust things, all that good stuff. And then we'll add a shadow here in a second to really help kind of make it all look good again. But I'm going to grab mine with my arrow tool and just move him on my iceberg here so that he's kind of more planted there. Still a good room for like the moon right here is fine. We want him to be like a good chunk of our picture, so nothing too small, but just place him there nicely so he's not falling off the edges or anything. Okay, and then once you have him where you'd like him, let's go ahead and add the other details. So on our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. And on this layer, we're just going to add our shadows. So let's grab our second color on the last row of the color palette, same monoline brush. The first shadow we're going to add is going to be under his chin and down his front side. So I'm going to start just right here, kind of go in just a little bit, follow that little curve, and then we'll kind of go straight down again, and then through like the front of this paw here. So this front paw, I'm going to kind of cut it in half in the front like this, and then fill in everything to the left of that. So drag and drop to fill that in. If yours overfills like this, you just need to hold your pen on the screen while you're filling and slide it to the left. Do it multiple times if you need to get this threshold down far enough to where it only fills in that bit there. So that's like the front little shadow. Okay, then we'll make another shadow to kind of distinguish this back leg, right where this back foot kind of connects to the body. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to make a curved line like this, hold it down. So this kind of just makes that little back leg area. And then from there, I'm going to start and make another curved line towards the belly, hold that down, and fill in everything between that to make a nice little shadow there. I might even extend the shadow a little bit towards like the bottom of his body, like so, something like that. So that's all in shadow there. That looks good. Okay, that's it for shadows. Now we just need the eyes and nose. So same layer, let's grab our black color, third color on the last row. And we'll add the nose at the top of this snout here. So just kind of a little rounded like square piece there on the front. His eyeball will be kind of right here where like the snout meets the head. In from that a little bit. A nice circle, hold that down, touch my finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set a good size, fill that in. And then we just need a little twinkle in his eye. So I'm going to go back to my white color, the first one on the last row. Same brush. Is this too big? Maybe a little bit. Let's drop our size a little bit to like maybe 20%. And we'll make a little dot in the top, like right corner of his eye, or kind of on the right side there. And that is it for our polar bear, except for the shadow underneath him that will help him kind of pop a little bit more as well down there. And just, make him look kind of more rooted to our iceberg. So let's add that now. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer, drag it below our polar bear layer. It should automatically clip to our top icebergs layer, and that is what we want. So make sure this is clipped to this layer here. Click the N and set this layer to multiply this time. That will help us create a nice shadow. So the colors that we're going to use are going to be this next two colors on the bottom row. So starting with the fourth one in line, we're going to switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category. Still opacity at 100, size at like 5 is good. And I'm just going to create like a little shadow around the bottom of him. So I'll start kind of right here, very lightly, just kind of going out a good ways to get a nice shadow. And then we're going to do a deeper shadow closer to him. So this one can be kind of wide. Okay, something kind of like that. Then same layer, we're just going to switch our color to the fifth one on the bottom row. Maybe drop our size even a little bit to like 3% or so. And we'll just do a very close shadow with this darker color all the way around the bottom of him. Okay, so something like that. So that's it for our polar bear and our icebergs. Now we're going to just finish off the sky. We need a moon, some stars, some reflections in the water, and then some snow to finish it off. So let's go to our layer menu. Let's add a layer at the very top of our layers. Grab our fourth color on the top row of the color palette, back to these ones up here. Let's switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. And I'm going to increase the size back up to maybe like 50%. And we'll draw our moon. So just kind of next to my polar bear's head in the sky here, I'm going to draw a nice perfect circle. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set a good size and fill it in. If you need to, you can grab it with your arrow tool, and on uniform you can resize it, or you can just move it around if you need to. But yeah, kind of in this like top left area is good. Okay, on our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. We're going to just do some slight recoloring to it. So first, let's grab our darker color, the fifth one on the top row, and switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category, size at maybe like 10. And I'm just going to make like a little dark spot in like the top left. So something kind of like that, just working in a circular motion. Then we'll add a little highlight to the edge with this next color line, sixth one on the top row. So it's lighter. I'm just going to go around the edges and add a little bit of a highlight there all the way around, just so we have some variation in our moon. Now we need its glow. So on our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of this circle layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate, grab the bottom one, click on it and turn off alpha lock. We're going to blur it. So wand icon, Gaussian blur, and let's drag this up a good ways to maybe 25 to 30%. Okay, it's not quite bright enough. Let's go to our layer menu, make another duplicate of this glow now. So slide to the left on the glow and hit duplicate, and then click the N on this one and change it to add, and that will get us a nice glow. Okay, so that's our moon. Okay, now let's go ahead and add some stars to the sky. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer at the top. Let's click the N and set our layer style to add again. And let's grab the fifth color on the top row of the color palette and switch our brush to the soft airbrush under the airbrushing category now. So a lot skinnier than our soft brush that we were using. Opacity at 100, size at like 10. And we're just going to make some stars in the sky. So if you push pretty hard and kind of work in a circular motion, you can get some good stars, but they have some nice like feathering to the edges. You can make some really light ones, some brighter ones, just kind of a good variety of them. And when our snow comes in, it'll kind of cover them a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to put some down anyway. Something kind of like that. Okay, we need some reflection in our water from our moon and stars. So on our layer menu, to do that, we will add a new layer above our water. So go all the way back down to our water layer. Add a layer right above it. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask, so we're only drawing within our water. And then click the N and set this to add. Back to our color palette, the color that we're going to use is going to be the fourth color on the second row. Switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category, still at 10%. And let's go ahead and right under the moon, we're going to start there and just very, very lightly start adding kind of like in horizontal motion. And then as it gets closer to me, it's getting like a little skinnier, so it looks kind of circular almost. Okay, something like that to start. And then I might drop my size to like 5% and add some kind of smaller sections to the water. So just kind of maybe in like horizontal motions or kind of little blobs, just like a few more very, very light like sections of just light throughout our water. In like some of these open spaces. Something kind of like that. And then let's go ahead and lower the opacity a little bit. It got a little crazy. So on our layer menu, click the A to open up our options here. And let's lower the opacity a little bit to just maybe like 80% or so. I think looks good. I might blur it a little bit so it's just a little bit cleaner. So to do that, I'll go to my wand icon, Gaussian blur, and maybe we'll blur it just a little bit to, yeah, maybe like 15 to 20% somewhere in there, so it just kind of blends a little bit better throughout our water. Okay, and then last up is our snow. So on our layer menu at the very, very top, let's add one more layer. Grab our white color, first one on the last row, and our snow brush, which is going to be the driven snow under the elements category. Let's set that to maybe 50%. See how that looks, and we'll just add some snow all around. Pretty lightly, not doing anything too crazy. Maybe about like that is good. That just helps kind of finish off our picture. So once that is done, that completes our drawing today. So I hope that you had fun. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out. I hope that you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And then make sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any future tutorials from me. And if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.